Good afternoon and welcome back to the Suburban Rifleman. Today we're going to be taking a look at and shooting a rifle which is new to us. This is the Winchester Model 100. It is an auto-loading sporting rifle. This one happens to be chambered in .308. This was Winchester's first auto-loading sporting rifle in .308 Winchester. It was introduced in 1961, just 9 years after the introduction of the .308 Winchester, which is more or less based on the 7.62 by 51 NATO. Winchester actually beat NATO to, the market. I guess you can't really say that a military cartridge, well, I guess you can say a military cartridge is going to market. They beat NATO in the introduction of the cartridge by 2 years, 1952, and NATO adopted the .308 in the 7.62 by 51 NATO in 1954. When Winchester introduced the .308, it was originally chambered in their Model 70 bolt action and their Model 88 lever action, which is a turning bolt lever-operated rifle, and really. The Winchester Model 100 is a semi-automatic modification of the Model 88 action. The bolt, I believe, is the same. The bolt carrier and things are the same, but of course, instead of having a lever, it's gas-operated. We've got a gas piston underneath here and a couple of operating rods that come back to work the bolt. They made about 260,000 of these between 1961 and 1973. This one is from 1961. It's only a 5-digit serial number. First year of manufacture. There are a couple of things if you buy a Winchester Model 100 that you need to know. First of all, there was a very important recall that was done in 1990 or issued in 1990. There is a tendency with some of these rifles for the firing pin to stick in the forward position. Basically, you've got a standing firing pin on the breech, much as you would have in a machine gun. And A, the rifle could go full auto, and B, the more important concern is the rifle could potentially fire a cartridge out of battery when the bolts aren't fully locked, and you could end up with a catastrophic failure. There is a telephone number. I will post it down below. You can call Winchester to find out. You just give them your serial number, and you can find out if the recall work was done on the rifle, whether or not you've got a new firing pin or an old firing pin. There's ways you can check it yourself, but it's a little bit complicated. It's much easier to just call Winchester and find out. I did call Winchester. And Winchester did inform me that the upgrade work was done to this rifle in 1991. That is in fact not true. We are sort of ill-advisedly going to shoot this rifle today with the original firing pin in it. Now, I just detail stripped the rifle last night. My dad and I, we very thoroughly cleaned everything and inspected all the parts. Everything's lubricated. I don't anticipate we're going to run into a problem, but that's one thing you've got to keep an eye out for. Another criticism of the Model 100 is the trigger. A lot of people say that it's mushy, terrible, just a terrible, terrible trigger. That is not the case with this rifle. I don't know if this has had trigger work done to it in the past or not, or if it was just the fact that the earlier rifles, pre-64, had better triggers. But this trigger actually has a very nice, this rifle has a very nice trigger in it. And I would, before purchasing one of these, it seems like you should be, see if you can get permission from the gun shop if you're buying it from a dealer to allow you to dry fire the rifle to see what the trigger is like. Because apparently some of them are really terrible. This one's got a little bit of take up, but then it breaks very clean. So, this will be our first go-round with this rifle. The rifle operates from 4-round detachable box magazines. And the ammunition we're using today is actually surplus 7.62 by 51 NATO. I purchased this stuff about 25 years ago. It was advertised as being Portuguese surplus, um, but it has a DAG head stamp on it. It's marked 1966, December of 1966. The DAG head stamp is actually for Dynamit Nobel in Germany, so this is German surplus ammo, and it's relatively soft shooting. It should be perfectly safe in this rifle. This ammo was specifically loaded to be used in either the German G3 or the Spanish Setme. So, and it's supposed to be very good quality. I've had good luck with it in the past, and as I said, this is a brand new rifle to us. We've never shot it before, so we're going to be seeing what kind of accuracy we get out of this thing. Actually, we have to decide whether or not we want to keep this or send it on down the road. I'm leaning towards keeping it at the moment, but as they say, the proof of the pudding is in the tasting, and we're going to taste this thing right now. So the detachable box mags just go right up in here. The mag release is in the front. We've got a standard push button safety. The nice thing about this one is it's in the right place. Many other manufacturers, Remington especially, likes to put their push button safeties behind the trigger guard. This is much better because you can disengage the safety and then bring your finger right back to the trigger. So there's no bolt hold open on this. You can't lock the bolt open. It will stay open on the last shot, but it's just hanging up on the magazine follower. So as soon as you drop the magazine, the bolt will fly forward. So let's see how it shoots. Oh, and we've got a fairly old Bushnell Scope Chief 2.5 power scope on here. I'm not going to be trying to sight the rifle in today. This scope is canted. I think it actually looks very clear. There doesn't seem to be any fungus or anything inside. Usually with these old scopes, I just throw them right in the trash and put something new on. But I really would like to keep this scope with this rifle. It's a perfect fixed 2.5 power. It's perfect for what this gun was designed for, as a brush gun for hunting. And but I'm not going to be making any adjustments or anything with it. We're just going to be shooting for groups. So when I show you my groups, they're probably going to be off, but we just want to see group size. So here goes nothing. Wish me luck. Starting off at 25 yards here. Interesting. One more.
Locks open, that's nice.
Huh?
Locks open, that's nice.
Yeah. So as you can see, as I said, it does lock open, but as soon as you drop the magazine, the bolt will go forward. So I'm going to walk down range and take a look at that target, and I'll be back. All right, so actually the scope is pretty well zeroed at 25 yards, despite the fact that it's being canted. At 25 yards, we got just about a 1-inch group. I'll show you the target when we do the wrap-up. So we're just going to go ahead. It was a little bit low. We're going to push out to 50 yards. I imagine it might be just a little bit high, but it was dead on left to right. So, and a pretty nice group. So let's go at 50 yards now. All right, now we'll go check that target at 50 yards. One thing that's really nice about a gas-operated 308, recoil is very, very manageable. You can see it was jumping around a little bit. I was letting the bench rest do the work, but really, my shoulder's feeling fine. All right, so we had basically identical performance at 50 yards. We went from a 1-inch group to a 2-inch group. It was still low. I was expecting it to be higher than 25 yards, but I'm always sketchy on the physics of how optical sights work in relation to the axis of the bore. So now we're going to push it out to 100 yards, and that's going to be our final 4 rounds we fire today. That's as much as I think we feel safe pushing it with the old firing pin in this rifle until we can get the upgrade from Winchester. So this is 100 yards. Then we'll do a wrap up and take a look at the targets. All right, let's check out how that one went. Okay, so we were kind of running out of time at the range, and it was cold and windy, so I just figured I'd do the wrap up back here at the house. To take a look at the targets, this was our 25-yard target. I started there because I didn't even know if we'd be on the paper. I had no idea where the scope was sighted in. So this is 25 yards. The group size is just about exactly 7/8 of an inch. So that works out with a group size of 0.875 at 25 yards. That works out to 3.5 minutes of angle. And so I was pretty pleased with that. This group looks very good, but that's mostly due to the short range. This is a 4-shot group. That's 2 shots into 1 hole. And so I was fairly pleased with that. As we moved out to 50 yards, obviously you can see the group opens up a little bit here. But actually, in terms of minute of angle, this is a little bit better than the 25-yard group. This measures 1.5 or 1 5/8 inches, or 1.625 inches center to center over the largest spread of the group. And at 50 yards, that works out to 3.25 minutes of angle. So that was pretty good. Then we moved out to 100 yards, and you can see the group opens up quite a bit more. But in fact, from a standpoint of minutes of angle, it's exactly the same as our 50-yard group. This measures 3.25 inches across the group, or 3.25 inches, and that works out to 3.25 minute of angle. So it's exactly the same as the 50-yard group. And no, I don't need anybody to tell me that 1 inch is not exactly 1 minute of angle at 100 yards. I know it's slightly off of that, but these are easy calculations, not difficult calculations to do. So overall, I think this is all very acceptable accuracy from a rifle like this. You consider the fact that we are using a semi-automatic mid-20th century hunting rifle with a mid-20th century 2.5 power scope from Bushnell, which is actually canted in its mountings. So not the greatest scope on the planet. And we're also using mid-20th century military surplus ammo, albeit of very good quality. Again, this is made by Dynamet Nobel in Germany in 1966, in December of 1966. So it's quite good quality, but I mean, this does not measure up to modern match ammo. And to be perfectly honest, I would never feed this rifle modern match ammo. There's just no good reason for it. I think we've all gotten a bit spoiled. I know I have, and I think certainly a lot of younger people are so used to the fact that you can go into your local big box store with about $300 to $400 and buy a bolt action rifle that's going to be sub-minute of angle out the door. And that's wonderful. I mean, we live in wonderful times. But this is really the sort of accuracy you can reasonably expect from a rifle like this. Now, perhaps if I replaced, the Bushnell Scope Chief 2.5 power scope on there with better rings and a better scope, and we fed this thing some modern sporting ammo or possibly even some carefully worked up hand loads, could we shrink these sizes a little bit of these groups? Probably. But that's not what this rifle was designed for. It was designed as a brush gun. Fast follow-up shots, hunting white-tailed deer or black bear, probably in thick cover. This is the sort of accuracy that the rifle was built to produce. And I think it's perfectly acceptable to just go with these numbers. As a matter of fact, modern hunting ammo may actually tighten these groups up a little bit. You never know, that it actually might open the groups up a little bit. But at 3¼ inches, at 100 yards, you basically means that every shot is going to be within 1 5/8 inches of the aiming point. That's well inside the boiler room of a deer or a black bear. And yeah, I'm very happy with this. So why don't we go ahead and wrap this video up? And so to sum up, I would say that the Winchester Model 100 is exactly as good as it needs to be. It's reasonably accurate. We've seen that. It's relatively lightweight and fast handling. It's a handsome rifle, I think, and I've read a lot of other opinions. There's a lot of people that share my view that it's probably the handsomest semi-automatic sporting rifle, centerfire sporting rifle out there, owing mostly to the fact that it has this one-piece wooden stock. So many other auto-loading sporting rifles like the Remington 7400 series or 740 series, the Browning BAR, and others, they tend to have two-piece stocks with a solid receiver in the middle. And I just think that the Winchester Model 100 looks a lot better than those. This one's been incredibly reliable. Some people, well, I say it's been incredibly reliable. We've fired a total of 12 or 14 rounds through it so far, but so far it's been perfectly reliable. A lot of people have reported really bad jamming problems with their rifles. I haven't seen that here yet. A lot of people, again, have reported very, very bad triggers. This one happens to have a wonderful trigger. It feeds from a 4-round box magazine, which comes out and goes in very nicely. Obviously, semi-automatic function, so it provides fast follow-up shots. Even this little 2.5 power scope is perfect for the role of this rifle as a brush gun. Push button safety, again, in exactly the right position. I just don't know what much else I could say about the Winchester 100 that would be of any value, but I just think it's a great rifle. I think we're going to hold on to this one. I look forward to getting the scope squared away and maybe seeing if we can find some other ammunition that'll shrink those group sizes down just a little bit. But the group sizes that we produced were certainly perfectly adequate for the role that this rifle is intended to. So do look to see this rifle in future videos, and I got some other stuff coming up. When I post my next video, I hope to see each of you here then. Later, guys.